known as BT cotton. It is genetically enriched in laboratories with a bacteria capable of killing the parasites that threaten this plant.
We have been able to develop a technology called BoldGuard, a BT cotton technology, where we produce a seed that has inbuilt protection to pests, thereby helping farmers almost double their cotton production, reduce the number of pesticides they've been using in the field to control those pests, and really increase their average income. In 6 years after the introduction of BoldGuard BT cotton, India has become the world's second largest producer and the second largest exporter in 6 years of introduction of BT cotton.
For centuries, the farmers of India cultivated their farms and their seeds, which were given to them by Mother Earth. They are a gift from the gods that belong to no one and gave everyone the right to use. We would plant our own seeds from what we used for food. We would keep a few. The following year, we would plant those same seeds. They were natural seeds. If there was a drought, they'd come out fine just the same. We had our own seeds. We didn't go to the market. We had no separate expenses for that. We had cotton, we had corn, we had peppers, we had everything. Were these seeds yours? They were ours. The peppers, the corn, the cotton were ours. And you won a prize for your crop? Yes, I even won a prize. So if your seeds were good, why did you take the others? The others were also using them. We thought we could get a better harvest. And we used them too. That's how it happened. With these seeds, we got ourselves into debt. They assured us we would get 200 kilos from each field. For the first time, we had only a few expenses for the seeds. Then we used fertilizers once or twice. Now we use them 5 times, and it's not enough. The soil has lost its strength because of the BT cotton. If we use a different seed, nothing grows. You don't use your own seeds? No, we do not. You can't imagine their deception. They would bring BT seeds and say we don't need to use a lot of chemicals. And for a year it was like that. However, the following year, a new parasite, the millibug, arrived. At the beginning, they said we wouldn't need to spray at all. Then they said, you must use some for this bug, this for the other bug. So what is the situation now? What does Monsanto produce? It also produces chemicals. And who is the biggest trader in chemicals? Monsanto. Do you think they'll stop bringing their chemicals and pesticides to the market? Would any company give up on profit? No. The farmers in India cultivate expensive crops. They depend on multinationals for seeds, medicine, fertilizers, of which they need more and more. The same farmer that spent nothing on seeds before now must spend 40% on seeds. Before, there were no expenses on fertilizers. Now 20% goes to that. The farmer would not use any pesticides. Now that amounts to 10%. All this adds up to 70% that they must put on the cost of themselves. It was a very bad day. He was going round and round. His mother was sick in bed. He came and sat back there. His wife was sleeping there. We didn't see what he did, but he had soaked himself in petrol. And we saw a very strong fire. And then he came and fell here. We were all here. And he was burning in front of our eyes. He burned very quickly. We did everything we could to save him. We took him to the hospital, but he died 2 or 3 hours later. He would tell us. He knew. We told him not to take it too seriously. We didn't imagine he'd do something like that. He was worked up and sat thinking alone for hours. We would tell him the hard days would pass. That's what we'd tell him.
Story that we have suddenly become Scandinavians and don't see the sunlight and therefore getting depressed and our farmers are ending their lives. It's amazing how fertile a human imagination can be when it wants to find excuses to not understand the real root of a crisis. The government's own data shows that the majority of farmers who have committed suicide were deeply indebted. Our data shows that the majority of them got into debt because of BT cotton. Most suicides of the 200,000 are in the cotton belt. Most of them have grown BT cotton. The story of Indian farmers is the story of how these rapacious corporations have emerged as criminal corporations. I often say, if 200,000 people had been killed by a dictator, we would have called it a genocide.
Suicides in India are a tragic phenomenon and unfortunately have existed way before the introduction of BT cotton in 2002. The primary cause for suicide is really indebtedness, and then some of the other causes are inadequate infrastructure and irrigation, untimely rainfall, so on and so forth.
He would say nothing. He would say nothing about the loan. I'd always find him worried, deep in thought. He was always worked up. His mind was working all the time. He was never happy. He would pretend to be happy outside. Inside the house, he seemed lost. I talked to him. I told him God was testing us.